Working on a 2012 Audi A4, just pulling the cylinder head off of it this morning, and just talking about something that's kind of a pet peeve of mine. I notice it very often. A couple things here, actually. You can see a lot of people that are that don't necessarily want to replace the O-rings on things like this. It's cool and flange. They'll put sealant on it just to kind of, as insurance, in their heads anyways, as insurance that it won't leak. It never really does anything. It never does the trick. A lot of times I see these things coming in leaking, silicone all over the place. It just makes the job harder when it does end up leaking. You're better off just replacing the O-ring, or if the O-ring looks healthy, and you can even pull it off of the flange and look at it, and if it's not really far out around and it's still nice and soft, put it back on and put a little grease on it. You'd be better off doing that than you would slathering silicone all over it. But what I was initially making the video was just talking about cleaning these cylinder head deck surfaces, the mating surface on this end and also on the cylinder head. A lot of times you can see people use power tools or really aggressive, sandpaper. This one, it's got pretty deep scratches in it where they were, I don't know what grit sandpaper they were using. It looks like it's, I don't think they were using a wheel because they don't seem to be circular they're more back and forth. But whatever the case, that's fine if you use a really fine grit. I've seen a lot of people do that, no problem. Just take your time with it. But what I like to do is just use a little bit of, brake clean and use something like this, just like a scuff pad, and just kind of so you're not really digging into the metal at all. You're just cleaning it. You can scrape it smooth first with a razor blade and then use a scuff pad. It takes more time, but then you're not changing the finish of the actual surface. A lot of times people kind of develop these habits when they were working on big cast engines with composite head gaskets. Most of these modern cars have these MLS, these multi-layer steel gaskets, and they're a lot less forgiving. There's actually, if you want to get really weird about it, there's certain finishes that are super fine finishes that are requirements for MLS versus a composite gasket. It's actually different. The how they finish a cylinder head depending on what kind of gasket it's going to use. So if you just get in here with some grinding wheel and just go nuts on this, like I've seen a lot of times, you can potentially damage that sealing surface. And it's just one of those things where this is, it would be very difficult to fix if this was damaged. So you have to be careful with it and take your time. There's a lot of things you can kind of rush through and get away with. Being a flat rate mechanic, that's kind of how it has to go, but you have to know when it's time to, slow down and take your time with things. And stuff like this, that's what I think that's when it's time to kind of take your time, clean it really nice. And then you can kind of, you can cut corners on other things. You can rush through other things, but this stuff like this is very important, So, that's all. Just making a quick video complaining. So thanks for listening.